Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds, hanging out with this nerd.
Nerdarchy Ted.
And we ask, is there a doctor in the house? We're talking about playing Dungeons and Dragons without filling all the roles in the adventuring party. This time, the cleric. We're going to start this video by thanking our sponsor, Easy Roller Dice. Whether it's your first set of dice or your 1 millionth set of dice, Easy Roller Dice for all your dice rolling needs. Down in the description, as always, you can find a link to easyrollerdice.com/nerdarchy, as well as a one-time coupon code for a whopping 20% off. Go get your Easy Roller Dice.
All right, so we're continuing this series of, playing without party roles. And today we're going to talk about what do you do if you don't have a healer?
Ooh, you can't play D&D without a healer, can you?
Well, in this edition, I have to say, of the party roles that are out there, I think this is the easiest one in 5th edition to play without.
Yeah, and it's actually the easiest for several reasons. One is some of the built-in mechanics to 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, like the hit dice you can use during a short rest to recover some of your expended hit points.
Right.
So that in itself is, okay, you guys have a hard combat, you take a break, and now you're going to get some hit points back.
Right. Now we're looking at primarily your healer is your cleric, your druid. Like you could technically call a bard in there, but I think the bard is more of like a backup. I don't think the bard wants to use all his spells and abilities as the healer of the group.
Yeah, I think we can agree that your primary healer is going to be either a druid or a cleric, especially a cleric. But druid works as well. They get enough healing, they get enough spells. It could definitely double as that. But the other thing I want to point out, we talked about healing during a short rest, which makes 5th edition a lot easier. But also after a long rest, you get all your hit points back.
You get all your hit points, all your spells, all your abilities, and you get most of your hit dice back. So it's pretty easy to be like, well, you know what? We're gonna just camp here. You gotta do it.
In 5e, the cleric has been kind of really even more so been relegated to the battlefield combat medic, right? Because it's in the moment, in the spot. We need to keep fighting, keep us going. That's when you need the healing the most.
That's so true. So when you're out there and you're fighting, all right, that's when you've got it. But even then, your paladin, your fighter, they have abilities that have healing.
Yeah,
your ranger has access to cure wounds.
Yeah, we have several secondary healers. So if you don't have a primary healer, this is one of the ways that you could deal with it from the player side is our secondary healers. We're looking at the bard, the sorcerer. If you go divine soul, you have the ranger, like you already pointed out, and the paladin. All of them have healing capabilities. The paladin actually has quite a bit between lay on hands and actual spell casting. The bard is a full caster, and they do get a couple spells. So they're also a really strong. Secondary caster as well.
So cure wounds is on the bard's list, so you can easily grab that if you're going to encounter a handful of effect-based monsters. Lesser restoration and eventually greater restoration are all you technically need to really fill that cleric role. Yeah, you might not have all the cool buffs and the things that you can do, but as a bard, when you get that short rest going, you got your song of rest, and that boosts people even more.
Yeah, and as we've already stated, short rest, long rest, you're going to need to manage them really carefully as a player and make sure you're taking them when you need them and you don't overextend yourself, because in a pinch, you're not going to get your hit points back the way you would with a cleric or a druid. Now, the other place where you can look to healing if you don't have a cleric or druid in your party is your feats.
So, you've got, we're talking about a healer. There is the feat healer. You stock up on medicine kits and, healer's kits, and you go to town, outside of battle. It's like, well, we're just going to coat you up and turn you into a mummy, and voila, you've got some healing at the cost of gold.
Yeah. Also, Magic Initiate's another great place to go. You can either take cleric or druid as your Magic Initiate choice, and either one of them, it'll give you some healing, not a lot, but it's a little boost.
It's going to give you, if you take cure wounds, that'll give you that once a day heal. And if you go cleric, you've got the ability to take spare the dying. So there is no roll if one of your party members is dropped. You cast that cantrip, and bam, they're stabilized. No more death rolls.
There is actually one more, and I forgot to put it on the list, and that is Inspiring Leader. You can give up to, I think it's like 6 people temporary hit points during a short rest or a 10-minute speech or something like that. But either way, it's going to be super useful.
Temporary hit points is a way to mitigate some of that damage that's going to be coming in. And, yeah, most of the time you want to think about, all right, well, we're going to go into a battle. Let's have this pep talk. But honestly, you could do this every time you rest, every time that you set out. And it's all about, let's discuss tactics. Let's think about, how do we work well together? And you can really make this an RP thing for your character, for your group, that's going to allow this thing to not only be an awesome story, but an awesome campaign.
Now, the other area where you're really going to want to be careful with your choices, if you do have spellcasters in your party, you want to make the right choices, because this is going to make up for not having healing available. So there's some alternate means of either getting hit points back or making sure that the damage you take isn't from your own hit points, but maybe temporary hit points instead. So you've got things like aid, innervation, false life, heroism, life transference, and vampiric touch, and most of them are fairly low level. So you're going to be able to tap into these, early on.
With that kind of gets into just tactics around the battlefield. And like, I know, some people on this channel have talked before about, hit points being a resource, but you can't go down that road if you're not really dealing with a steady healer at the table. So when you're casting those area effect spells and you don't have the ability to single out your party out of the damage area, you want to be careful about how you're laying those things down. You want to be careful about when you get into a tactical situation is, are you preventing flanking? Are you doing your best to make sure that you're spotting the traps and the things that could possibly, cause some damage to the party? And if you're really rolling with the best, that's the best way to, deal with not having that healer.
Now, what about from the other side of the screen? What are some tips for going healerless as the DM?
Well, as we said in the beginning, like, this is the easiest thing to deal with, because you've got all these different resources and all these different things. But as the GM, you wanna use some squishier monsters. You want to use monsters that don't hit quite as hard. Let's leave those flying snakes and those monsters with severe poison damage, till next session when the healer makes it, or just till the next campaign when they've got a cleric.
Yeah, it's not so much about squishy as it is with hard hitting monsters. I feel like it's already that they last a while, but whittling hit points down little by little was way better than those big strikes that are going to really last, that really affect this party.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You can do squishy monsters that could hit hard, or you do monsters that don't hit hard but have a lot of hit points.
So the other thing is just, allowing your players to rest a little more in the game is going to be, that's going to mitigate things from the DM side. And then the other thing is magic items. And there's actually a ton of magic items that give healing. I mean, you can find potions, staffs, rods, wands, scrolls, wondrous items, and even weapons that all give you some form of healing. Or, stealing of life. Whatever it takes to get those hit points back up.
There's the decanter of endless water, How long before somebody starts talking about the decanters of endless healing potion?
So there are all ways you can do it. And also in my own personal games, in the Scarlet Sisterhood game, I run it's a small adventuring party. Oftentimes we would run with 2 to 3 players.
Right.
So a lot of the roles aren't filled, and we had some of them like dip 1 level in cleric for healing. Like, we didn't even talk about multi-classing, but a dip in a healing class could do it. And I had that happen in my game, as well as that player also took magic initiate, cleric as well. So that they just had a little bit more, in their repertoire. Also, the bard would actually sometimes play as the tank and sometimes as the healer, sometimes as both. And what she did for her magical secrets was take more spells from the clerics list to kind of fill out the party. Eventually they did get a paladin, and then they got even more healing and less of a problem, and more tankiness. And then after that, now they have a cleric, so now I can really hit them hard with stuff. But my point is, you can play this game without filling the roles. And I've played without tanks. I've played without clerics. It's still fun. You might change the stories you're telling, but you guys can definitely do it in your games.
So, how do you run this at your table? Have you played without healers? Got any cool stories to share? Down in the comments below, go ahead and continue that conversation. While you're at it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Jump down the description below after you leave that comment, like, and share, and check out that coupon code as well as that link for Easy Roller Dice.
So until next time,
Stay nerdy.